Alright, this is a little more in-depth video on time, existence, space, matter, and perception and reality. Let's start with time. Time is an illusion of perception created by retrospecting when you go from one recognizable memory to the next. That is why sometimes time seems as it goes by faster or slower. It is because of the distance between one frame to another of a memory in your mind. Finite time is only existent in your clock, and even then it is not truly existent in a finite state. It's the distance between one gear shift to another. The actual plane of time does not exist, unlike the plane of matter. The plane of matter is tangible, able to be experienced in full reality by our senses. The plane of matter is not finite, however. No matter how far you divide a piece of matter down, there are still smaller and smaller components. It only appears finite because we put units to measure with on certain pieces of matter, so that we have some sort of bearing on what would otherwise be an infinite fractal pattern. Now let's talk about space. Space is again a perception of distance. Space itself is a perception. The word is used to show an idea, not an existence. A complete vacuum, in other words, the gaps between pieces of matter, is only distance in our perception. There is nothing between the 2 points. That nothing is non-existence. Let's talk about logic. Okay, this is a common statement. Logic is not flawed, but the people who use it are. Even by saying something is flawed, I am indeed flawing logic. Flaw implies that you have a basis by which to measure flaw. Once you break it down into a tangible means by which to measure. But even that tangible means is still infinite. Or I should say undefinable rather than infinite, but they both work in the instance. Therefore, there is no true flaw. And even saying true goes beyond that. Therefore, all of any words ever spoken have no bearing on reality. The closest a person can get to reality is by subtracting themselves and all other intelligence, and subtracting the use of any words implying intelligence, such as reason, why, meaning, or purpose, or any really word in of itself. In effect, trying to think how a rock sitting on the ground would think. My major point I'm trying to establish here is reality is not a thought-driven process. It's not anything you can say in words, because words are useless. Everything you or I know is based off of a measurement, not off anything real. Maybe a measurement of something real, but anything that is being measured has no finite beginning or end on an internal level for most things, and on some things an external level. It's actually funny, because trying to think like a rock, we are effectively trying to escape logic by trying to perfect it, in the sense that that the only real perception of reality is if the idea of reality were a tangible object, and we could be that idea and have its perception. But its perception being non-existent would be the only true one according to our perception. And the only basis we have for that perception in our perception is science and the flawed logic according to our own standards of what a flaw is. The pursuit of true knowledge is indeed trying to make oneself non-existent. The irony is, all humans eventually succeed. In light of this, I ask you, when it comes to your reality, everyone who understands this will have to be knowingly ignorant of it in order to still obtain human emotions such as happiness. This long description of perception and reality should allow people to think for themselves in an existence where nothing is certain, not even existence itself. Our perception of this existence should indeed be to the best benefit of the other perceptions. If you didn't understand that, that basically means that your perception should be to the best benefit of other people's perceptions, and basically be good to each other. It's a very long description of basically saying that, because once we get past that certain point of human understanding, then it basically beckons us to do our own rights, our own correct and unflawed things. See, since nothing is set in a line of finite things, then there's an immeasurable amount and an infinite infinitely small dividable amount of what you could possibly measure something as. You can only look at it relatively as to another structure. So we might as well get rid of things that do not benefit us, things that cause war, things that cause hate. And yeah, you can kind of see where I'm going with this, but it's kind of subtle, and I'll leave it at that subtleness.